Pure class builds are in for some major changes with Update 50 of the Elder Scrolls Online. Hey everyone, it's Spopes. ZOS just released an official article on the new Class Mastery passive system coming in Update 50 of the Elder Scrolls Online. And while this doesn't cover a lot we haven't already seen from the PTS patch notes, I thought this would be a good time to make a video dedicated to the subject of Class Mastery, how it's going to change each and every class in ESO, and how it's going to disrupt or even entirely replace the subclassing meta. Before we dive in, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, please like and hype this video, and do consider taking your support a step further by becoming a member of the Spopes Army, pay up some merch, or leaving a donation. Thanks for watching everyone, let's get into what the new Class Mastery system is, all the passives that are coming for each of ESO's 7 classes, and what this all means for subclassing and the meta. So Class Mastery is coming pretty soon now. It'll be released with Update 50, which comes on June 8th. The devs say here that Class Mastery is a new way for you to further hone your builds, while also being rewarded for your steadfast dedication to your class. Introducing a new passive skill line for each of the game's 7 classes, each containing 5 unique passive abilities. Class Mastery allows you to lean into the mechanics that make your class and build special. Now we're going to talk about the requirements for accessing Class Mastery. To make use of the Class Mastery system for one of your characters, you must first meet the following prerequisites. So first and foremost, you have to get each of your class's skill lines, all 3 of them, up to level 50. And you need to not be actively using subclassing. It's fine to have it unlocked, but you can't have any skill lines actively subclassed, or else you will not be able to access Class Mastery. And the devs say here, with Class Mastery, you will feel more empowered than ever to hone your focus and specialize in your class's original suite of abilities. And we will just have to see about that. So there will be 5 new passes for each class, but you'll only be able to use 2 of them at a time, because you only get 2 Class Mastery points, so you must choose which passives to activate based on your desired playstyle. Many of the new passives buff or expand upon the abilities already found within a class's skill line. And now we'll get into the passives that are available for each class. Starting with the Templar. First, we have Bastion of Light, that heals you for every second that Sacred Ground is active. If you're at full health after the heal, you generate ultimate while in combat. Devout Guardian also has to do with Sacred Ground. It gives you a damage shield while Sacred Ground is active. The shield also grants health, magic, and stamina recovery while active, and if it breaks, you gain ultimate. Next, we have Bright Harbinger. This upgrades rank 2 of Illuminate, an existing Templar passive, to grant the affected group members weapon and spell damage, with a greater increase for you. Judgment's Brand upgrades rank 2 of Burning Light, another existing passive, to increase your damage done with Templar abilities for a few seconds after activating. And lastly, we have Steadfast Candescence, which is focused on tanking. It increases the amount of damage you can block while stationary and causes you to gain Sacred Ground while bracing. So I've noticed with most of these, there are 2 or 3 passives dedicated to DPS per class, and then usually 1 or 2 dedicated to healing and tanking. So for each class, around 3 of the passives have to do with dealing damage, 1 has to do with tanking, 1 has to do with healing. Because the Templar is built as a healer, we have a little bit more focus on healing in the Templar's Class Mastery passives. Moving on to the Sorcerer. First, we have Conservation of Energy. This upgrades rank 2 of Blood Magic to also activate off any ability with a cost, excluding cost per tick abilities, and to also restore magic and stamina upon activation. Font of Power upgrades rank 2 of Exploitation to also activate off any Sorcerer ability, and it grants you weapon and spell damage based on your max magic or stamina, whichever is higher. Static Reverberation causes your damaging attacks to have a chance for a percentage of missing health the target has to trigger an additional hit of shock damage. The chance is reduced for every permanent pet you have active. Next, we have Calculated Defense. That gives you a damage shield anytime you begin to activate a Sorcerer ability or an ability with a cast time. If the shield does not break, you and your group members get weapon and spell damage. And lastly, we have Sphere of Influence. This causes your damage shield abilities to grant an additional damage shield to the target that absorbs a percentage of max health as damage, scaling with the higher of your max magicka or health. Targets also gain magicka, health, and stamina recovery. So that does it for the Sorcerer. Out of all the different Class Mastery passives, the ones given with the Sorcerer seem the least interesting and powerful. I haven't seen anything in the discussion of the U50 PTS to indicate that Sorcerer is now ridiculously OP, but the same cannot be said for the Nightblade. The Nightblade's Class Mastery passives begin with Nocturnal Inspiration. This upgrades rank 2 of Hemorrhage to have a chance equal to your weapon critical chance to grant you ultimate. An Eye for Exploitation increases your weapon and spell damage and reduces your damage taken, both based on your target's missing health. And this is the one that people are saying is really OP. Above and Beyond increase your critical damage and healing. It also increases your maximum potential critical damage and healing. And that is the passive that some people are saying is going to take Nightblade right to the head of the pack again, make pure Nightblades the meta. We also have Evasive Trance. that causes you to briefly dodge incoming attacks when activating a Nightblade ability while bracing. Dodging any attack through any means causes your attacker to take increased damage. And lastly, we have Share the Spoils, which upgrades rank 2 of Transfer to double your ultimate you gain, while also granting the nearest group member's Magicka, Stamina, and ultimate upon activating. So yeah, it's looking like Nightblade might become really OP in U50, mainly due to Above and Beyond. Moving on to the Dragonknight, which is so far the first and only class to receive its class rework. So all these class mastery passives synergize with the newly reworked Dragonknight toolkit. First, we have Inexorable Descent, which upgrades Landslide to also grant potency to damage and healing done, and damage shield strength per stack. And they clarify here what Potency 2 means. It means this bonus applies to the base calculation of these events, causing it to become multiplicative with other bonuses. That could be incredibly powerful. Booming Voice upgrades rank 2 of Storm Voice to also grant health, magicka, and stamina per ultimate spent. Wildfire Embers upgrades your Dragonknight damage over time effects that apply to enemies to apply a unique damage over time effect on enemies whenever the triggering abilities end. This damage effect stacks with increasing damage per stack, so Engulfing Dragonfire is going to get even more powerful. Then we have a tanking passive, Resolute Defense, which increases the amount of damage you can block by every second you remain bracing. Blocking has a chance to restore stamina. Could be really useful for tanks. Then we also have Lead from the Front, which upgrades rank 2 of Storm Voice to also apply major berserk and protection for a time, depending on ultimate spent to both you and your group members. So Dragonknight is already super OP in U49. It doesn't seem like any of these are going to make the DK any more powerful in PvP than it already is, but it will make the Dragonknight more useful in a variety of ways. Alright, moving on to the Warden, and they do begin with a note here. The Warden's passives are generic and number focused while we work on the class refresh experience for the class. They expect changes when the class refresh is complete, so basically they're half-assing with Warden right now, because yes, they did push back the Warden class rework to U51. It is not coming out in Update 50 anymore. It will be out in the fall. So right now a lot of these are pretty weak, but they'll be updated in U51. So we begin with Tundra's Maw, which upgrades the Chilled status effect to also apply Major Brittle upon application. Wild Adaptation increases your weapon and spell damage for each status effect your target has on them. This can also apply to friendly targets. So you're going to want your group members to get status effects so you can farm off them? I'm not sure if that's a great idea. Glacial Obstinance upgrades Bond with Nature to also trigger off activating Winter's Embrace abilities, and causes the effect to grant you weapon and spell damage if you are at full health after the heal. Greenkeeper's Hide reduces your damage taken for every status effect on your attacker. And then Nature's Bounty upgrades rank 2 of Nature's Gift to grant the healed target major heroism for additional magicka and stamina. So yeah, what's happening with the Warden is not so exciting so far. They couldn't get the class refresh out with U50, which kind of threw a wrench in the works. So we're in this weird limbo state with the Warden until its refresh comes in U51. For now, its class mastery passives are going to be pretty mid. But what is not going to be mid at all is apparently the Necromancer. I'm hearing that with these new passives, Necromancers are hitting over 200k DPS, so something got totally broken with the Necro, which is ironic because the Necro is already broken in terms of being basically unplayable because it's weird and laggy and doesn't work very well. But now the weird laggy class is also going to be the most powerful, next to Nightblade. So let's see what they're doing here with Necromancer. It mainly has to do with corpses. Nothing Wasted upgrades rank 2 of corpse consumption to also grant a stack of Nothing Wasted every time you consume a corpse. Nothing Wasted increases your max health and weapon and spell damage per stack. If the stacks reach their full duration, they instead lose a few stacks and refresh, rather than losing all stacks. Malevolent Promise upgrades rank 2 of corpse consumption to mark the closest non-player enemy to you, with Death's Touch for whenever you consume a corpse, which allows you to use a corpse consuming ability against them. Consuming or replacing this effect forcibly triggers, ignoring cooldowns, rank 2 of Death Gleaning, and rank 1 of Corpse Consumption's ultimate. The Cycle Unending upgrades rank 2 of reusable parts to also increase your damage done based on how much more health you have than your enemy. And then Pound of Flesh grants you a chance when taking damage to restore health and some of your missing stamina up to once per second. This chance increases for every percentage of missing health you have. And lastly, we have At the Precipice, which activates when directly healing a target below 50% health, and allows you to use a corpse-consuming ability against them. Passively increases the duration of any source of major vulnerability you apply. So yeah, they did something crazy with the Necromancer here. I don't know enough about the class to really understand what happened, but whenever you can hit over 200k DPS, you know something's broken. So I'm very curious to see what happens with the Necromancer once U50 releases, whether it will still be so OP or whether they're going to tone it down a little bit. Alright, and lastly we have the Arcanist. Abyssal Emergence upgrades your Arcanist ultimates to immediately generate Crux upon activation, while also granting weapon and spell damage after activating. Fate Realigned upgrades rank 2 of Implacable Outcome to also generate Crux upon activation, and to grant weapon and spell damage. Unbound Potential upgrades rank to a Fated Fortune to also increase your damage done. In the patch notes, it said this added 30% more damage, or 15 in PvP. I'm curious if they're considering nerfing that, based on the fact that the percentage damage was not listed here. Then we have Erudite's Rigor, which upgrades Fate-Woven Armor to also apply Minor Cowardice to your attacker, and Major Vitality to you and your group, while granting you ultimate based on the amount of Crux you have. And lastly, there's Inkscribe's Verve, which enables you to generate a Crux when you heal or overheal while in combat. Generating Crux this way also applies Major Force to you and your group. All right, and that does it for listing out the Class Mastery passives. Let's move on to some discussion. So I'm really not trying to be a doomer here, but I'm already noticing some potential issues with this system. The whole idea of Class Mastery, as I understand it, was to offset the meta created by subclassing last year, where now basically everyone runs an Arcanist, Warden, Nightblade, because people figured out that is the most powerful combination, creating a meta even though subclassing was supposed to increase player choice. So then we have Class Mastery, which is supposed to, again, increase player choice, but it's already looking like it's going to funnel players toward the Necromancer and the Nightblade, while also making subclassing basically irrelevant. So this reminds me of the old adage of you get the cat to catch the mouse, then you get the dog to catch the cat, you get the, MS-13 member to catch the dog. I forget how it goes from there. But basically the idea is that it's escalating, where you start with one problem. Honestly, I don't know what the problem was that made them do subclassing. I don't know what the original mouse was here, but there was some kind of problem which they then solved with the subclassing cat, and now along comes the Class Mastery dog. But you see what I mean here, where Class Mastery seems poised to basically consume subclassing. Instead of providing the choice again to go with a pure class, people will feel like they're being compelled to do it because subclassing is no longer powerful enough. And I know power creep is a thing, but no class, no build should ever be doing 200k DPS. There appears to be something legitimately broken with Necromancer right now, which again is ironic because so much about that class is literally broken and in a bad way. So the broken class in a bad way is now also broken in a good way. Just the levels of silliness compound here. People were complaining about how ridiculous it was when subclassing could hit 130k or even sometimes 140k, but now Necro can do over 200k damage? That's just insane. So yeah, from everything I'm seeing so far, it looks like ZOS went too far with Class Mastery. I believe what they say, they were originally just trying to make it possible for pure classes to be competitive again, but instead of doing that, they put something new in the game that is even more powerful than subclassing, making the subclassing meta, which already annoyed the heck out of players, even more annoying because it's now irrelevant, and now basically everyone is just going to be running Nightblade or Necromancer. So yeah, I get how complicated it is to provide actual balance in a game like ESO that's so complex with so many skills and systems and classes, but it really seems like instead of trying to fine-tune things, ZOS is taking the approach of just massive changes that are dramatic and interesting and look good on paper, but it really seems to me like they have not learned their lesson with subclassing, where, I think subclassing is a good thing. I'm glad they added it to the game, but it was incredibly controversial, alienated a large swath of the community, and caused problems that have not been fixed. And now the supposed fix of subclassing is just going to make everything worse. So again, I love ESO. I wish the best for ZOS, but my original hype for Class Mastery has just about entirely diminished because what I'm seeing here is a subclassing 2.0, which ironically also seems like it's going to make subclassing irrelevant. But at the same time, on a positive note, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff to explore in Class Mastery, lots of cool new abilities to check out, ways to make our pure class builds a lot more effective. And by the way, almost all my builds in the playlist I'm linking above are pure class, which will make them even more attractive once this update comes out. So do check out my Templar, my Sorc, my DK, or my recent Arcanist build to start getting ready for the upcoming pure class meta. And I would say don't give up hope. There's still time for things to be changed. Even after U50 releases, if there's enough backlash, hopefully ZOS will fine-tune it, make Class Mastery less ridiculous. But yeah, again, I'm just reminded of that adage of you get the cat to catch the mouse and the dog to catch the cat. It's just this escalating series of fixes that don't actually fix anything in the end. Eventually, you just have MS-13 running around your house. So yeah, in summation, I really call upon ZOS to fine-tune Class Mastery, to make it a polished and not ridiculously OP system once it does launch. But even if it does launch and suddenly Nightblade and Necromancer are ridiculously OP, I hope they'll at least notice that and fix it. The communication we've been getting from ZOS has been a lot better over the last year. I can only hope we won't have another subclassing disaster, where basically it released, it ruined the game for many people, and ZOS basically said, deal with it. So if Class Mastery does have problems, I just hope ZOS fixes them. I really hope we can have both subclassing and Class Mastery on equal footing. We'll just have to see how it goes. But in the comments, do let me know what you think about Class Mastery, what you're most excited for, what you're most worried about, which class you're going to master first. For me, it's going to be Arcanist probably, or maybe Sorc. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with Arcanist, especially because I just created an Arcanist build. I'm really curious to see how it changes with these Class Mastery passives. So comment with your thoughts on Class Mastery on the video, any feedback you have. And yes, I do still have a bit of a sore throat today, so sorry if I sounded weirder than usual. It should probably be better by tomorrow. I thought it was better this morning, but then I started talking. I was like, wow, I sound funny. So thanks for bearing with me, guys. I appreciate all your wishes for better health. And yeah, before you go, please remember to support the channel by liking, hyping, and subscribing. I really encourage you to take the extra step by becoming a member, joining our rapidly growing community of Spope's Army members, or checking out some of my merch, or leaving a donation. You can donate either on my Fourth Wall site or right here on YouTube in the form of super thanks. Thanks for supporting the channel, everybody. We're going to finish up as always with a prayer to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Lord, as always, thank you so much for ESO, for making such a great game in so many ways. I ask you to be with Zos as they implement Class Mastery. I ask you to empower Zos to make it a smooth implementation without utterly disrupting the meta. And if it does disrupt the meta, I ask you to empower Zos to fix it. And Lord, I thank you so much for making it possible to make this video today. I thank you for my community. Please bless my whole community, everyone watching, all my subscribers and members, people who comment, people who like. And Lord, for those community members who are trying to follow you, draw them closer to your side, Jesus. And also draw close to your side, Lord Christ, all recently departed souls across the world. I give you all glory for my channel and for the video today, Lord. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Again, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please do comment with your thoughts on Class Mastery, how you think it might disrupt the meta. And before you go, please remember to like, hype, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, turn on notifications, because I'll be back soon with new content.